There's one thing you might not even realize. From the moment you wake up
Sir, morning. How's the traffic?
until you go back to bed, that constantly controls your life: money. You need money to go to
If you need any
school.
help with that section?
Oh, thanks. I wasn't sure.
No problem. It's just your student ID number there.
You need money for snacks.
Thanks. Enjoy your day.
You too. You too.
And you need money to cook.
Oh, thank you. Have a great day.
Even your favorite sports club, the one you stay up late to watch, has players because of money. And many of us probably spend time, energy, and even health to get these pieces of paper. But if you think about it, money is just paper. It's not oxygen. It's not water. It's not a natural necessity for survival. It's just a human creation, a fictional story that humans have created and believe in. Imagine if we could take money and give it to aliens or our ancestors hundreds of thousands of years ago. It probably wouldn't have any value at all. So how did something we created end up controlling our lives? How did we get to this point, where money has become everything? Okay, to really understand this, we have to go back a long way, to a time when humanity had just undergone a major revolution. We successfully cultivated the land. This achievement wasn't achieved out of mere curiosity, but rather out of forced starvation. And imagine, for hundreds of thousands of years, humans had been hunting and gathering wild berries for food. But over time, food sources became increasingly scarce, especially as our numbers multiplied. Eventually, humanity began to discover a miraculous way to grow food from the soil. The world changed forever. Once, hunting was enough to feed only a handful of people. With farming, for the first time, humans had an abundance of food. But this abundance of food meant that, for the first time, humans also had to think about how to store it. This is where a new role emerged in ancient societies: the food warehouse manager. They didn't plant seeds, they didn't bother harvesting, but all the decisions were in their hands. From the piles of grain, the first leaders and religious leaders emerged. And slowly, people began to understand the concepts of private property and tribute. And this is where writing was born. Writing was first used to keep track of agricultural produce in ancient civilizations. And this is where money emerged. In 1840, researchers discovered tens of thousands of clay tablets left behind by ancient civilizations. Many of these tablets were initially thought to be just boring government records. But it was here that they discovered clues to the origins of money. Because on these tablets, it turns out there's a word that appears frequently: shekel, a word always followed by a number and the name of an item. Initially, researchers thought these words were a unit of weight, but it turns out they point to the existence of a universal medium of exchange. So it's a kind of money, but its true form has never been found. So what exactly is a shekel? It turns out it's a kind of virtual currency. So, at that time, people gave a portion of their agricultural produce as tax to the priest, but many of them couldn't afford the tax. The priests thought hard about how to avoid losses, and ultimately, a system was born that we still use today: the debt system. Yes, money didn't emerge from a barter system that evolved over time. As is often depicted in history books. In fact, some experts believe the barter system only emerged after humans already knew about money. Money emerged because rulers needed an easy way to organize and collect tribute. Now, let's travel back in time to Europe from the 9th to 14th centuries. We'll see people captured by soldiers, imprisoned, tortured, and even sent to the Father above. This was the fate of those who rebelled and refused to work in the nobles' fields. Yes, at that time, almost all land was controlled by them feudalism. But besides the nobles, soldiers, and commoners, there was another layer of society at that time: merchants. Initially, they were considered insignificant, but as science advanced, they were eventually able to trade with other merchants from all over the world and reap enormous profits. Eventually, many kings and queens sponsored merchants to explore the world. with the state taking a portion of the profits. Mercantilism, on the other hand, landowners don't want to sit idly by. In England, for example, they made the crazy decision to fire all their farmers and convert their fields into livestock farms, which are more profitable in the international market. Farmers tried to find other jobs, but only had vacancies as livestock farmers for landowners. So, well, these bosses were looking for workers to stay and tend their livestock. But now that they were staying, the farmers were being asked to pay rent, and these former farmers had no choice but to accept. Because they had no money to pay rent, they ended up in debt to the landowners as well. Those who had initially only thought about farming now had to think harder about making a profit. The steam engine, in quotation marks, was only the finishing touch. The only societies that could adopt the steam engine on a large scale were those already with a profit-driven mindset. Human labor was replaced by more powerful, unpaid machines. The Industrial Revolution. A German philosopher published a book on economics that remains controversial to this day. Karl Marx. He wrote this book because, according to him, the European economic system did not eliminate oppression. Workers actually produce more value than their wages. But this is taken by employers. Ray Dalio once explained the economic system with the analogy of a machine. To keep moving, the money within it must keep circulating. And what's interesting is this. Among the many circulating money, there is intangible money, namely debt or credit. One of the characteristics of capitalism is the need for continuous growth. Meanwhile, the blue planet we live on has limited resources. In our world, which has embraced capitalism for hundreds of years, the gap in inequality is widening. The richest 1% of the world's population owns more wealth than half the human population. So is our current economic system the best option we have? After all, it's all man-made. If it doesn't work, we can change it. The question is, are we brave enough to imagine something different? And as always, thank you